In a world that is set up and designed to not check in on you, you should be the one checking in on you the most. And that's where mindfulness comes. It helps you reduce stress. It helps you focus better. It helps you ask and take up space without asking for forgiveness. It helps you to speak up for yourself in situations because you're aware of what you want. Because many times women aren't even aware what they want.
This is the Two Healers podcast, where we explore health and wellness through a holistic and integrative lens. I'm your host, Dr. Adri Bryant, bringing you insightful conversations with experts from around the world who are transforming the way we approach well-being. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of our Wellness podcast. Today, we have a truly special guest with us. She is Kulsum, the founder of Over the Moon Project, and she's a remarkable expert in awareness, mindfulness, and emotional regulation. She has dedicated her life to helping others to reconnect with themselves. Thank you, Kulsum, for being here with us. We are very honored that you are here.
Thank you, Adri, for such kind words and welcoming me so warmly. I am so grateful that I'm here. It's my first podcast for mental health, and it's always going to be special for me. Firstly, I just want to say I'm no expert. I'm still learning. I just graduated last year from my social work Masters of Social Work. That was a degree that really changed my life. However, I always wanted to do something to help people, but I didn't know how to, which is why when my mentor suggested doing Masters of Social Work, I decided to pursue that and realized that that's pretty much it for me. I also come from lived experience of chronic pain since I was 12 years old. So that's close to 20 years of chronic pain. And I myself have personal experience of mindfulness working like absolute magic for me. And I thought, why not spread that? Why not let everyone know from someone who's been through it how impactful it is and how poignant it is to have in your life?
Can you talk to us a little bit about how was for you or how has been for you being with chronic pain all this time?
Of course I can. It's become second nature now. I don't remember my days without it. I've got a year and a half old puppy, and when we bought him, my pain completely stopped for close to 6 to 8 months, rather than a few flare-ups here and there. And I remember telling my husband that this feels so new to me, and it almost feels like wrong, but it was not. And there was like a little taste for what life is supposed to look like without pain, and what life probably looks like for others who don't have pain. And so I've got something called somatic pain, and that affects my lower left abdomen. And even though it does not affect my day to day, because of mindfulness and rigorous therapy and some great help from my support systems, I have sort of made way through life, and it doesn't really affect my life as much. But there are days or weeks, sometimes at a stretch, where it completely renders me. It controls my life, or it feels like it controls my life. And it obviously, there's a lot of sadness and a lot of tears where it sort of takes over and becomes my identity. So that's what my pain feels like. And obviously endless tests, hospital visits, medical professionals not taking me seriously, surgeries to see what happened. And that's when I think about 3 to 4 years ago is when we came to a conclusion that it is psychosomatic. So it's pretty much in my head. And there are certain definitive steps I need to take so that it does not control me. And mindfulness is the first and foremost step that has worked and that is working continuously. It's synonymous to me now. I do it every day, every second pretty much that I remember to do it. It is something that I would recommend everyone. Obviously, doctors, psychologists, and therapists are extremely, extremely important for wellness, growth, mental health. I think everyone should take therapy. I feel that along with therapy, especially if you are someone with chronic pain, along with your pain team, you should be practicing mindfulness. It is great for stress reduction, pain reduction as well. I'm very happy to share my resources and videos of literally the father of mindfulness, and he speaks about pain reduction as well. So it is definitely something that I have used in my life. I have been rendered bedless for a while. And I have, because of mindfulness and because of using my techniques, been able to dance the very next day or the day after in a friend's party. I've been able to enjoy milestones in my life that I never thought I could or never felt like I could when I was in my flare up.
How was that you discovered mindfulness practices to help yourself to overcome this condition?
I found mindfulness in my life because of my mentor. She's a huge pillar in my success because she's a clinical psychologist and a fantastic one. And she introduced me to the topic of mindfulness. And then when I started taking therapy rigorously, because my pain had taken over my life to a point where I could not even do my job properly. And I think when that gets affected, everything gets affected in your life. So when I decided to take therapy, and this was full time, 6 months therapy, I realized and I was told how important mindfulness was. Because in my mind, mindfulness was just sitting on a bed and meditating, which I wanted to avoid because it felt like too much while being in pain. It felt like I had to do hard work to get out of pain, and that my brain just did not want to do that. It just felt too unfair. And I do want to mention that the father of mindfulness is Thich Nhat Hanh, and the founder of mindfulness was John Kabat-Zinn, who sort of uses mindfulness to reduce pain. So these are two very important pillars of mindfulness. The more I started reading about it, it made sense how important it is.
So the awareness and mindfulness, it became more than just a practice, right? You convert that concept into a way of living.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you've said it so correctly. It is the way of living. And my goal with Over the Moon project is to make mindfulness everyone's lifestyle, because it is it is like the gym for your brain. It is not a quick fix. There is no way that if you just do it for 45 minutes in a day, all your problems will go away. And that is what is one of the teachings or learnings from mindfulness, that your problems don't really go away, because people think that, oh, if I do this and my problems are still there, what's the point of doing it? But it's not so much to get rid of your problems, it's to handle or manage your problems better, which is a skill that we lack collectively as a society, because these are ways or methods that are not taught to us when we are growing up. So just like the gym, it's a proactive approach, not so much reactive. We don't expect to go to the gym day one, get muscles, abs, and be ready. It takes a while. We gain strength. We realize later how much our body and our mind has changed, but it requires effort. It requires practice. It requires making it your lifestyle. But it's hard. It's definitely hard to do it. It's harder to maintain a habit, especially because life's so busy. Mental health issues are rising. So people are realizing that they need help as well. We're still fighting stigma. So there's a lot of change required in the society. And I'm hoping that with mindfulness becoming people's lifestyle, we'll soon start to check in with ourselves a lot more, so, and slowly change our approach to problems and start making better decisions.
How would you define mindfulness and awareness? They are the same thing?
Mindfulness is pretty much being aware and being in the present. I mean, one can be aware of their problems in the past, aware of their anxieties in the future, but it is being present and being aware of your presence and your surrounding. And I heard this in a talk done by John Kabat-Zinn that I just mentioned. He says that it's like giving yourself a call. It's like checking in with yourself, like you check in with your friend, and being like, hey, how's it going? What's going on with you? So being aware of what's going on. Am I anxious? Why am I anxious? So yes, mindfulness is being in the present, completely in the present, and being aware of the present. So getting away your past fears and future anxieties.
This reminds me one book that my husband told me to read some time ago. The name's book is The Power of Now.
100%. And it is important, I think, with the phrase the power of now. That's all we have really now as people. Of course, our past has happened to us, and there is no negating or invalidating that. Of course, our future is to come, hopefully. But what we really have is our now. And if we carry the baggage of yesterday's and the weight of tomorrow's, today becomes tomorrow, and we've again not enjoyed it. And again, it becomes unpleasant. And that's that vicious cycle that we continuously are wrapping ourselves in as people, where we are so hyper aware of our future and so bogged down by our past that we forget that today is the time where we could create changes so that our future changes, because it is our imagination. No one really knows what's going to happen in the future. Of course, we're worried about the future and we'd be like, oh my God, if I do this, this might happen and this might happen. And simple example that it's a Friday and you've made a mistake at work, and your boss has left for the day, and this has happened to me, and this is and it's the most scariest thing because I'm getting flashbacks of that. Um, and I made a mistake on the contract. I was in HR and I made a mistake and it's gone out with the wrong details to the client, for example. The boss is not going to do anything. It's Friday night, they've left. I've spent the entire weekend worrying about what's to come on Monday, making some very rash decisions by continuously emailing my boss, worrying that I don't have their number, as if that would make a difference, right? It's a weekend, we're all at home. Pretty much reached the conclusion that I'm fired. Monday, shut shop. I'm going to be asked to leave. And I've literally spent my weekend, which I deserved after being burnt out after the week, just hyper worrying, canceling plans, shutting myself in the room, not doing things I love because I just, again, praying time goes by so fast. And then Monday rolled around and my boss didn't show up because they decided to take time off. And that was it for me. I'm crying and stressed. I'm hyper overthinking. Why did they take time off? I made that about me. Are they taking time off because they want to fire me on a Tuesday, not on a Monday because of pay cycles? And my colleagues are having the time of their life. They're like, oh my God, you're a mess. Like, you need to like take time off yourself. What's going on with you? And Tuesday rolls around, my boss comes in and I go up to her and she's obviously not happy. But her first reaction is, my gosh, you look like you've seen a ghost. You need to calm down and we'll fix this together. Right? These are professionals you've sent contracts to. They're not going to just run with your mistake. They're going to return it back. And she's like, think about it, Kulsum. If you got a contract which had the wrong value in it, would you just be like, okay, now I'm a millionaire? Or would you just return that email and be like, hey guys, I've seen a mistake? Obviously, we are professionals. So, and I was like, oh my God, the penny dropped. Like, I was like, what's wrong with me? If I just had spent that weekend relaxing, I would have had a better reaction to what would have come. Or if I hadn't spent that time gnawing into my brain, I would make lesser mistakes at work because I am present and I am aware of the mistakes I'm making. And I remember this because it was one of the first big project clients that I had to make a contract for. And they were this like exec team client, and it was the first time I was given that responsibility. And I was so in my head about it. I was like, okay, cool, so you don't have to make a mistake. Triple check it, double check it, 5 times check it. Print it out, highlight it, double check it. Like, I went absolutely berserk about this one contract that I ended up making a mistake. So if I would have just stayed present, calmed down, listened to music, made that contract like the many other contracts I had made and sent without a mistake, it would have been such an easier process for me. That was a great lesson to learn, that if I just had done mindfulness, but myself grounded myself back to reality, I just fretted over nothing.
You are not the only one. It happened to me too. At some point, I think that this is the perfect sample that could happen to everyone.
100%. Were you stressing as well?
At some point, I used to identify myself like a stress addict,
Yeah.
and I'm still figuring out how to manage that.
I love that phrase, stress addict, because it's so true. Stress addiction is so real. And I've never really thought of it like that. So that's such mind, like that's
Yeah. So because right now at this time, many people is talking about being aware and being present and being mindful, mindful eating, mindful partnership, mindful everything, right? Do you think that this concept is just a trendy buzzword, or do you think that it's like an ancient practice that we are just adopting or discovering how to use it?
honestly, Adri, I'm glad that it's a buzzword because it has become one and it is something that you see on TikTok and Instagram and people are talking about it. Even though that they probably don't know exactly where it stems from, but I'm just grateful that this topic is there. And hopefully people who are in the field like you and I can sort of take that and run with it, because at least it's been introduced, at least it's been spoken about. Because when I was growing up, I never heard of mindfulness, and social media was barely there when I was growing up. So even my friends and family and all these people I was around, we didn't ever really speak about mindfulness. But to answer your question, it is an ancient practice because we've been doing it without even knowing that we're doing it. I'll give you a couple of examples. We used to go down and play hide and seek. We as children used to take our time, not care about anything in the world, even if our parents called us home. If we were the people who had to seek, and I used to love hiding, I used to prefer hiding over seeking. But when I was seeking, I was focused in what I was doing. I was involved in the activity. I was mindful. I was present, was aware, making sure I heard every noise, every sensation around me, making sure that I remembered what my friend was wearing so that I can spot their shoes, if or the perfume they were wearing so that I could spot them anywhere. Or if they were giggling, because sometimes we used to just laugh, recognize that it was their laugh. We had these rules. If we name the person wrong, it's not counted. They get to hide again. So we had to be careful as to who we spotted. So that is a mindfulness practice. We were doing it as children. We were never told, but that was it. That is a mindfulness practice. And we didn't think of it as something we got to do because we are not feeling good. We had a stressful day at work. We did it because it felt good. We loved playing with our friends, and it sort of alleviated our stress from school. And that's exactly what it is. We need to take the same principle and use it in our daily life. Of course, it has a label of mindfulness, but it's pretty much that, just enjoying your today as much as you can. Our parents have been doing mindfulness. I come from a religious family, and my mom used to pray every day without fail, sometimes twice a day. There are many cultures where religion is given so much importance. And that is mindfulness, because even if you're sitting in front of your temple or your church or your mosque or whatever practice you believe in, you're there, you're in the present. Rituals that require you to only put your complete focus in there. And that is mindfulness. It has been done from generations after generations. It's just that now we have a term for it. Back then, we just did it as a lifestyle. And that's what my goal is. Have a bit of both. Understand why and what we're doing and do it like it's second nature.
You said something very important, and I think that it's true that the kids practice mindfulness just for instinct every day because they are playing and they are aware that they are playing. You are talking to them and they listen to you. They really are listening and they are learning every day how to do new things. They live in the present and they know what they are doing. Why do you think that it changed when we become adults? We stop being into us and our minds start going to other planes and thinking to the future, thinking a million of possibilities that can happen if you don't drink water that day?
I think the more responsibilities that come to your life in general, and the more you see and understand as adults, the harder it is to be in the present and to be aware of it. Because as tiny humans, we are quite unaware of what's going on around us. But as we grow older, certain privileges are taken away from us, um, certain responsibilities are given to us a lot sooner than maybe we were ready for. And of course, I'll break it down into generations. So the generation before us, for example, were there was no communication therapy, stress was not even mentioned, life just went on as it did. Autonomy was taken away from them about their own feelings. They're not allowed to express their feelings. Everything just started getting suppressed. And when you suppress something and shut it off, life just keeps moving on, but it keeps growing and it keeps growing and it keeps growing, and in the end it bursts when it's too late. So I think that's one big reason. We now believed that validation is so important to a sense of character that we were so occupied in what we did yesterday and what should we do tomorrow so that we are liked and loved by our people around us. And when social media was such a craze where your likes and your comments were determining what your sense of self is, obviously there's no chance that we would be taking care of ourselves when we are so busy taking care of our online selves. What is my profile photo looking like? What did I tweet? How many likes did my status get? It then translated in all our interpersonal relationships. You didn't like my photo, I don't like you. Even in our dating lives, this person has commented on X or Y's photo and not my photo. Does this mean they don't like me anymore? So feelings, all these negative feelings like jealousy, insecurities, sort of quadrupled the moment social media came in, because we started having fights or thoughts that people never had before. I don't think my parents ever probably had a fight that where my mom told my dad, how can you like XYZ's photo? Or why did you tag XYZ? Why did you not upload my photo on your profile? They've been married for long. They've been living life. Why am I not on your profile photo? And why didn't you write me a paragraph on my birthday? And that's why, if you see, it's such a common trait where people cry on their birthdays now. It's become like almost like a trend where everyone's like, there's never been a birthday that I haven't cried situation. Of course, there are many other reasons, family and economy and all of that comes in place. But I remember getting so upset on my birthday, literally on my birthday, which is supposed to be, as a child, it used to be my favorite day because it was all about me and I was excited and I didn't care who wished me. And it was just, I wanted to wear the best dress and look my best and feel my best and get my gifts. But here I am on my 18th birthday. Oh, sorry. Yeah, on my 18th birthday at 12 a.m. counting how many people posted on my Facebook profile rather than enjoying the moment, rather than actually being in the present. And if I have a crush on someone, why didn't they remember my birthday? So it becomes a lot harder for us to be in the present when we are so caught up in our sense of self. And lastly, money. I think when we become so responsible for our own lives, our parents' lives, our loved ones' lives, and we soon realize that there are a lot of privileges that are either taken away from us or we don't possess, that we always want something better. No one's really ever satisfied, ever, no matter who they are. But majority of the people on earth don't have the same privileges as that 1% that we now get to see on social media, or we step out and we see that. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much injustice, and there's no way that we can stay in the present and like it. And that's where mindfulness comes, because it's a reminder that there are many, many things that you can hold on to without it feeling like an insult to your sadness.
At some point during your talk, you said that the family is important, and if your parents or your grandparents learned something or they didn't learn something, it will affect you eventually, right?
Yes. 100%.
Do you think that the lack of awareness is a transgenerational trauma?
100%. I mean, uh, intergenerational trauma is pretty much so prevalent. And I think most so because now, our generation and forward, I think most of the people are breaking that chain finally. Most of them. I don't think all of them are doing it because one, it's hard work. Two, there's a lack of awareness, stigma, shame, privilege, all of that aside. I think a lot of people are breaking that chain now. And we like, have you heard of the phrase monkey see, monkey do? What you see and what you do, what you're grown up in front of is your reality. I believe critical thinking is a massive privilege. If you have the skill to critically think, question why, talk to yourself mindfully and be like, am I just doing this because I believe in it? Or am I just doing this because I've been told for generations that it's the right thing to do? That sort of conversation with yourself and your surroundings is such a privilege to have. I think that shift is coming now. I do see the generation after us a little more okay with their flaws and a little more willing to learn and change than the generations before. And I think that's a huge reason because of the stigma as well. Therapy is looked down upon. It's like if you tell your parents, for example, or your family or your caretakers that you've broken a bone in your body, like your hand or your leg or whatever, families would, if they are lucky enough to, they will give their everything to make sure their child is safe. However, the same family may just shun the child if they say, hey, I'm stressed or I have anxiety or I have a mental health issue. And that, I feel like a lot of people, specifically in that generation, need to now stop and be like, why? Why do I have an issue where any other organ I will work for except the brain? Or I will protect except the brain. So I think that critical thinking is so important and so required, even in our generation, honestly, or even the generations to come. I feel like there's just been a dent in this conversation, but even many a times I catch myself being like, why? Why am I scared to do X, Y, and Z? Why am I scared to take care of myself? It's as simple as that. And it's important to break that generational trauma. And it's hard work. It's such a hard work. There's a lot of power in recognition, and there's a lot of power in acceptance when it comes to accepting what's not even what's wrong with you, what's up with you. I hope we change that conversation as well. Like, I don't want to find out what's wrong with me. I just want to find out what's going on with me. Why am I behaving certain ways? And why do I need medication? Do I not need medication? Do I need mindfulness? Walk away from that stigma. Because it's impossible to do that when the loudest voice in your head is usually your parents or your caretakers or people that you've looked up to the most in your life. And that silencing that voice is the hardest thing to do, especially if they are around still or you see their photos or whatever. If just their presence sort of amps up that voice. And it's using mindfulness to finding your voice to then reduce that other noise in your head and finding out what's actually true.
Yeah. And for that reason, it's difficult to face that and it's scary.
Or scary.
Yeah. No one wants to like ask those questions that can help you, but also can be scary and painful because no one wants to remember that.
I highly, highly recommend this, but only with the supervision of a professional. If you were to do stuff like inner child healing and powerful therapy, memories that are suppressed sort of come back to you. And that's scary because then your life is never the same. Because now you're confronted with a memory that was affecting you in the back end of things, but now you're confronted with it. And you don't want to live with that weight and you don't want to add something to it. So people avoid it. And rightfully, I mean, why would you want to feel pain? Like, who likes feeling that? Which is why it's important to be taking steps like mindfulness so that you know how to deal with your day to day, deal with your problems, and ask for help when you need it.
In women that are juggling multiple roles and they suffer from stress, how you could help them to manage that stress using mindfulness practices?
So it's called mindfulness-based stress reduction, and it is a framework which is started by John Kabat-Zinn. He speaks about that. I highly recommend looking up his stuff, especially for us women. We multitask like no other. Most importantly, we've been asked to suppress our feelings pretty much growing up because we don't know what we want. It's always from everyone else's point of view. How many times have we seen our mothers not eat because the food's not enough, or give away the tasty bit because the kid wants it or the partner wants it or whatever? But I think as women, as long as they're doing the job and that it's working and the family's working, no one really checks in on them. And if they start complaining, they are then deemed as too emotional, and are you on your period and all that crap. The stigma around menstruating, and there's so much intertransactional stuff that people miss out on just looking at women, because we are really, really filled with layers. And I think it's going to take centuries. I hope not, but it's going to take years for people to crack into what's going on with a woman's body, mind, soul, everything. Which is why mindfulness is so important, because in a world that is set up and designed to not check in on you, you should be the one checking in on you the most. And that's where mindfulness comes. It helps you reduce stress. It helps you focus better. It helps you ask and take up space without asking for forgiveness. It helps you to speak up for yourself in situations because you're aware of what you want. Because many times women aren't even aware what they want. And I'm definitely one of them. I'll forget that I wanted something because I'll be so like in my head, I'll be like, okay, I need to do this for this and this for this, and this needs to be done. And I'll forget that I even need to, maybe I have chronic fatigue, I need to sit down. I forget that. How many times have probably you forgotten that you need to just sit down and breathe, because everyone is going to do that. You're not going to do that. And in the end, it's going to catch up. So I'm blessed with the kind of support system I have, with my parents supporting me when I needed therapy, having conversations. It was, as a matter of fact, it was my father who said that maybe you need to take therapy and it's going to help. And there's no shame in that. I've got you. Even though I didn't think there was any shame in that, that fact that he said, I've got you, just pushed me 20 times ahead. My husband's a blessing, and my best friend who lives here is like a pillar. She'll just rock up. If I just say the word, she'll be there. I'm blessed with the most amazing puppy who takes care of my mental health as well. So I'm a person of color living in Australia who is also a woman, and I yet have so much privilege. So I recognize that my sisters probably don't have it as much all around the world, because there are women across the world who don't get to take a break, choose themselves, have someone else cook for them, leave their job because they're feeling ill. My heart goes out to women like that, especially if you're a single mom and you can't leave your job because your life depends on you. If you're a trans woman, you can't go out there and ask for support from your family if they're not supportive. Which is why I want to just highlight that mindfulness is something that stays with you barring the privilege. No matter what you're going through in life, you can always choose to take care of yourself, even if no one else is. And especially if no one else is. It helps you realize what you like. Do you really like wearing? Do you like your hair down? Do you like your hair up? What makes you feel feminine and powerful? All of that mindfulness does. All of that. Like, you have short hair, which is so beautiful. A lot of women feel insecure to do that. I've grown up with it being called the boy cut in my culture. And some women love that. And because it's called the boy cut, it sort of chips away from your femininity, and you feel like, oh, am I not woman enough? Because the society thinks it's not good enough. For the longest time, I'd associated beauty to my long hair. And I hated it. I used to always just pop it in a bun and not take care of it. And the moment I decided that I can cut my hair and no one's really gonna, like, everyone's gonna love me the same and that's okay. And I did it. And I felt so feminine that day. And I remember it like it's a core memory for me. Cutting all my hair off to a point where even my hairdresser was like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? This is like super long hair. I was like, no, chop it off. And it felt so nice because I checked in with myself, and I And I had that mindfulness session with me where I was like, do I like the clothes in my wardrobe? Do I like wearing the color gray and black all the time? Or is it because I'm fighting a stereotype that women can't wear, women are supposed to be in pink and purples? You know how, like, you're not woman enough if you wear black and gray all the time? Am I like just fighting a fight for the sake of fighting a fight? Or do I really like something? And mindfulness sort of does that for you. And I realized that, you know what, I do like the color pink, but I do love the color gray. And it doesn't change me being a woman based on what someone else says. I will chop off my hair and it will always remain till here. It's not going to grow because I feel a woman. I feel like a woman. And if you are a woman who loves, or if you're a man, honestly, if a man who likes hair down till their knees, checking in with yourself is so important. If you like it, do it. And you won't know that you like it until you do mindfulness or until you do that check in with yourself, because you're dimming down the voice of the society, of your support systems, of your family, of everyone else, and only listening to yourself.
What kind of advice would you give to all that people that maybe don't have a very strong support circle around them to practice mindfulness and make powerful choices
Yeah,
from
100%.
that?
So to answer that question, I would have to speak about myths of mindfulness, so that we can bust every myth that comes along, so people can understand that what you may think mindfulness is it may not really be that. So there are two types of mindfulness: formal mindfulness and informal mindfulness. And I'm a huge fan and advocate of formal mindfulness. I love it. It works so well. It calms down my nervous system so well. I love it. I'm a huge fan. But it's not ideal. Every day removing 45 minutes of your life, sitting in a dark room with your eyes shut, it's not ideal. Life's too busy. I mean, if I were to tell a single mother who has no support systems that she needs to sit down 45 minutes with eyes shut and do a nice little check in while her toddler is probably screaming, she's not going to do that. And there's no way, that's an insult to her if I even suggest something like that. Or if I were to speak to people who are neurodivergent, attention span is something they struggle with. These are things that, as a mental health professional, I don't want to be doing a one size fit all for everybody, right? There are people in this world who've gone through sexual trauma, who don't like their body as much or haven't really come to that therapy to help get through something like that. If I tell them to do a body check in, it's only going to bring up negative emotions and trauma, which is not required. And it's the exact opposite effect that mindfulness is supposed to have on you. Mindfulness is basically what makes you feel relaxed. Anything else is not your mindfulness. So you need to find your mindfulness for you.
So if we could be drawing something, singing.
100%. So it there's anything in this world that gives you relaxation. Anything in this world. Drawing, singing is a fantastic example because it releases emotions and feelings like no other. Music affects a part of your brain which brings out the happy feelings. Art is so empowering because you're just there doing strokes like you like. Anything in this world, doing the dishes can be your mindfulness, but it needs to be your mindfulness. If it doesn't relax you, it's not for you. And you don't have to force fit into this certain practice. For example, I struggle a lot with formal mindfulness when I'm extremely stressed. When life is too busy, it's very painful for me to just sit and shut my eyes and do 45 minutes of mindfulness. Um, but if I were to draw or dance or sing or listen to music or read, I'm a lot more relaxed. But it changes for me. If I don't have a busy day, if it's a Saturday morning that I have nothing to do, I'll be very gladly be doing the formal meditation. So it's being aware of what you like. Today you may like something, tomorrow you may not, and being okay with it. So a huge part of mindfulness, along with being present and aware, is being non-judgmental. It is extremely important to be non-judgmental to the sensations in your body, to the thoughts that are coming in, not being hyper focused, not judging yourself for not being able to focus. Um, and being a lot forgiving, because we're going through a lot as people. We have a lot of other people to judge us. We shouldn't be the ones doing it. So, like, for example, my husband loves doing the dishes, loves doing the dishes. It stresses me out. You could not catch me doing the dishes. I don't like it, but my husband loves it. And there used to be times where after a busy day, he'd want to do the dishes. And I'd be like, oh my God, no, 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 don't do it. Come relax with me. Don't even bother. And he used to get even stressed when he used to come and relax with me. And that's when I realized that what I think is so stressful is actually his stress buster. Like, a lot of people love to clean to reduce stress. That's what it is, mindfulness. But being aware, being present, and being non-judgmental of your thoughts is the key to good mindfulness. So for people who aren't privileged enough, the mindfulness match for them, trial and error. Because if you Google mindfulness on YouTube, there's only one template that comes up, which is guided mindfulness. And it's not feasible for everyone. I think it's just to find something, even if it is 5 minutes in a day, to find 5 minutes, 2 minutes in a day to do something that relaxes you, where you can be present, you can be aware, non-judgmentally. Because if you do it every day, it accumulates.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you how many time or how many minutes or how many hours is recommended to do the informal mindfulness practice.
It is completely based on the individual, because if you do too much too soon, it's only going to have a negative effect. And I'm just going to use the example of a gym, right? Your first day in the gym, you're not going to go and lift up 5 kilos, 10 kilos of weight. You're not going to do that, because your body's going to give up. You're going to hurt yourself, and that's not the point of the gym. Same with mindfulness. You're not, if you try and do 45 minutes at a stretch, it's only going to unsettle you, make you restless, upset. Sure, you can build it up to 45 minutes if you like. But then again, that comes to not having the time, not having the space, not having opportunities in your day. So I believe that every time you remember, you should do mindfulness. And even if it's for a minute, and stop. We don't really count how many breaths we take in a day. We just do it. So I think my goal is that mindfulness just becomes something just do every time we remember to do it. So it's building that habit in your day to day, like drinking water, for example. If you remember, oh, I need to have my water, okay, go and drink that glass of water. The goal is that we constantly practice mindfulness. We become one with practicing mindfulness, but it's only going to happen when we start with small, small habits every day. 1 minute, 2 minutes every day, build it up to 10 minutes every day, 15 minutes every day, and then slowly disperse it throughout your day.
If someone never did this before and if they think that they don't have any skills, any artistic skills, they don't know how to start doing mindfulness, what would you recommend them?
I think the first question to ask yourself would be, why am I doing mindfulness? What am I trying to curb? Am I too anxious? Am I a worrier? Do I have chatter in my brain? Am I going through trauma? I think that's important to ask where you are and what you're doing. So sort of do like a check-in with yourself. Based on it, if you need to go to a therapist, if you need to go to a psychiatrist or support groups, etc., try and doing that first if it is for something that's affecting your life to that extent. PTSD or anything that comes up. So that definitely requires professional help. But if you're doing it just to instill a good habit in your life, which everyone should do, I think that's when you need to realize what do you like. So I don't like art, cancel it out. I don't like singing, I'm going to cancel it out. Do I like running? Do I like walking? Do I like exercise? Nor do I have chronic pain. I can't be doing exercise every day. So I'm going to cancel that out. What is my why factor? Not what is my why factor, my why power. What is going to drive me to do mindfulness every day? Because if I don't do that check in with myself, I'll be trying everything that works for someone else and it may not work for me. So, an easy way to instill mindfulness in your daily life is to do something called zooming in. There are two types of things that you can do with that. You can either observe or describe. These are two important parts of mindfulness practices, because when you're busy describing something, very rarely do you get a thought in your head. If I were to tell you, describe an apple for me, your mind will be completely focused on describing the apple for me and not, for that time, not worry about anything else. Or if I were to give you, for example, a peacock feather, and I ask you to observe it for me for 2 minutes, your mind will be so focused on that project, because the brain works like that. It'll be so busy observing the colors, the blues and the greens and the textures and everything, that it won't have time or space to think about something else. So using your description skills and your observation skills in your surrounding is a massive way to do mindfulness. So it can be anything. So I can give an example for that. Say you're anxious, what can you do? I'm just going to take my glasses as an example, because this is always going to be with me. I'm just going to look at my glasses from a curious point of view. And I'm going to observe it, look at it like it's the first time I'm looking at it, with a curious mind. And that's mindfulness. In your day-to-day, if you're just on your way to work, waiting in a restaurant, pretty much anywhere, you can just look at the closest object next to you. Look at it from a curious mind, from a beginner's mind, like it's the first time you're looking at it, and start observing it and describing it in your head for as long as you want. And that's mindfulness.
You mentioned at the beginning that mindfulness is helping you to manage your chronic pain, because you are not focusing in your pain or in your body, because you are giving your attention to some external thing that is not your pain.
Yes.
That can retrain your brain to don't feel the pain in the same way that you were feeling the pain before.
Only because my pain is psychosomatic and it's born from a trauma-based experience, and it's pretty much a mental thing, which is why it works. I mean, I have seen studies when it comes to physical pain as well, which is sort of stemming from a physical impact. But I would highly recommend speaking to a doctor or speaking to a pain clinic about that. Mine personally stems from psychosomatic, which is why mindfulness helps me. But I think it's important, if you can, consulting a couple of people when it comes to physical illnesses. Because when I went to the pain clinic, I had a chat with five clinicians, which then came together, spoke together, did their findings, and came up with a solution for me. So, of course, mindfulness is a great technique to reduce stress. But it is important that we consult other clinicians as well, because that's their expertise and they would be able to step in and say, hey, don't do this and do that instead.
Do you think that practice mindfulness could help in general emotion regulation?
Yes, mindfulness helps you being emotionally regulated, because a lot of restriction in life diminishes our regulation powers. Mindfulness teaches you that, let me ground myself to point zero and see how I feel about that situation again. Let me be more focused on myself, which is why it is important that we are non-judgmental about any thoughts that are coming in our mind, because then we'll be in that loop of, oh, can't believe you can't even do this right, you can't even do mindfulness right, you can't have no. So that's when you teach your brain to be curious and non-judgmental about your thoughts, about your feelings, it helps you carry on that practice in your day-to-day life as well. Which is why it's extremely important to start a mindfulness practice with a beginner's curious mind. Too much belief in mindfulness and happiness about mindfulness is also not good, along with too much skepticism of mindfulness. So obviously, if you're a skeptic and it doesn't work, because it's not going to work the first time around, it takes practice like we spoke about, you're going to give it up. You're going to be like, see, this is all hoo-ha, it's buzzwords, I'm not going to do it, it didn't help me. If you're too positive about it, and you'll be like, this is going to work for me, I'm so excited. And if it takes its time to work and you don't find your mindfulness match, you're going to give up. So it's very important to be in the middle, moderately, with a beginner's mind and a curious mind, give it a go. Give it the patience and the respect that you would give to something brand new in your life. As children, when we used to learn extracurricular activities, we went to classes after classes to develop our skills, and we never had that sort of pressure on us either. I never remember on my first class getting upset at myself for not knowing. We as kids are so much more forgiving, patient, and treat ourselves so much better than we do now. And I remember not feeling like a loser for not knowing on my day one. Even day 10, I just took my time with with the art. But I remember picking it up again 3 years ago and beating myself down because I didn't know it. How am I supposed to know it again in day one? I haven't practiced for so long. My body is different now. I think we need to be a lot more forgiving with ourselves as people and look at mindfulness like that and then practice it day to day.
See yourself with self-compassion.
Yes, 100%.
In your daily work, what are some common emotional patterns that you notice that people in general is struggling with the most?
I think impatience is number one, for it to be a quick fix. And number two is thinking that it is mindfulness's job to fix you, not realizing that it is your own job to do that hard work. I've had people, and I've spoken to people who've said that, oh, I don't want to go to therapy and I don't want to do mindfulness because they need to read my mind and they need to know everything and they need to fix all my problems. Why am I having to do all the hard work? When I go to a doctor, they fix me. I don't do any hard work. But people don't realize that they may not do the hard work in the clinic, but they do the hard work of taking care of themselves after. When you've gotten hurt, or if your hand's in a plaster, the doctor's fixed it for you, done the surgery and everything. The moment you go home, you're not going to remove the plaster and start dancing. You're not going to start using your hand. You are taking care of yourself. And that's the same with mindfulness and mental health. The doctor's going to guide you towards the issue, but you have to still take care of yourself. You still have to choose your well-being over your wants and your needs at times. Even though I want to use my hand, I'm going to not, because I want to take care of myself. And I think the last one is that I've spoken to people, they've said that they're too busy to practice mindfulness. They don't have the time, rightfully. And that's where, with Over the Moon project, I want to market it like it's mindfulness to go in a to go cup, where you're so busy, you just go to the cafe, order it, and you take it with you and keep drinking it throughout the day. That's how I want to get mindfulness in people's life, like it's in a to go cup. You can be as busy as you are and still practice mindfulness.
I think that that's one of the myths we have been told, that this a good practice of mindfulness takes 30 40 minutes of your day daily, and sometimes it's twice per day, right? At morning and at night. So if you are really busy, you're not going to do it.
No. No one's going to do it, and especially if you have demand avoidance on top and responsibilities. No one's going to do it. I'm not going to do it myself. Very honestly, if you ask me to do 45 minutes of mindfulness meditation every day, I don't have that time. I also am very impatient. My attention span's so short. It's very, very hard for me to just sit down and be glued to a practice. I'm not going to do it. So I don't expect my clients to do it. I don't expect someone else to do it if I can't. So it it is about finding, like I said, the mindfulness match in your day to day that is quick, that you can do every day without it interrupting your life.
Do you think that our body plays an important role in emotional awareness?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, the body does play a massive, massive role. Always is talking to you. Somatic pain is a great example where your body is showing you that you need to work on your mental health. Anxiety comes up and shows physical manifestations in your body through, like, cold palms, heavy breathing, etc. Yeah, so your body is always talking to you. It's all linked. It's always linked. As physicians say that Many a times they catch a symptom of another organ not working by another organ showing symptoms. So the mind and the body are always connected.
How can we practice emotional regulation with awareness during moments of conflict or when they are triggered?
You would have to ask yourself questions during that time. And it's not easy because when you're triggered or when you're having big emotions, it's important to know what questions to ask, which is why we need to be asking those questions to us every day, preparing us for that triggering moment. So, emotions rising is basically energy in motion. Okay. When we have a big flush of emotions coming in us, we need to do something about it. An action. I would highly recommend that when you're triggered, do something physical. And I don't mean go for a run or go to the gym. Either change your position or get up and drink water or shake your body and shake your hands or do some action per se where your brain is then focusing on that action and not on your thoughts and your triggers. Once you have done that, it's important to ask yourself the question, is it the fact or am I feeling that? Because your brain tends to lie to you. It's important to bring yourself back in the present. Now, obviously, when you're having a conflict, you're not going to be doing these things. You're going to look a little funny. So that is discreetly getting up or discreetly moving your legs or your hands and then completely focusing on practicing mindfulness, looking around, observing something near you, describing something, feeling your hands. You can often do mindfulness in your hands, just staring at your hands and describing what your fingers look like. Do you have any freckles in there? Your vein, your rings, your nails. That sort of calms you down and makes you realize that what's fact and what's feeling. And then your feelings will sort of decrease, and then following the facts and then having that control in the conflict. Because often what happens is when you're triggered and when you're having massive emotions, you lose control. And that's the worst feeling. And that's why you're in that vicious cycle and you start feeling worse and worse and worse and worse. You forget what's fact, you forget what you're actually feeling, like in true, and then start perceived feelings sort of take over and it's a mess. So what you got to do is do mindfulness, drink water, observe and describe. That's your best friends, those two words. Observe and describe what you can around you, bring yourself to the present, and then approach that topic.
To bring myself back, do you think that could work if I just play with something like a personal object or something?
Yes, so like a fidget toy. Fidget toys are very, very, very important as well. You may not have fidget toys everywhere. I highly recommend officers keeping fidget toys. You can play with it. You can also fidget with your necklace if you have one, or your rings. I often fidget with my rings because I'm busy focusing on it. What you can also do if you're, say, a lot of people sometimes get triggered in a crowd, which is a very common and valid fear. You can keep, because you know that you get triggered in crowded situations and you are going to a situation where there's going to be crowd, like concerts or something, you can always keep an object in your purse or your pocket that you can fiddle with during the trigger. So it can be literally anything. You don't even have to buy anything. You can just pick up a stone from the street and fiddle, play with it in your hand, and that would sort of help you come back to the present.
If you could give to everyone in the world one awareness skill, what will it be and why are you choosing that one?
I think it would be breath awareness. It's my favorite thing. We are always breathing, costs no money. It's the reason why we're alive. You needn't have to take out time for it. You needn't have go away somewhere to a retreat or something to relax. If you're aware of your breath, if you are present and focusing on the way you breathe, it's done. You don't need to do anything else. Just need to focus on your breath. So it means inhaling and exhaling mindfully a couple of times and not letting it just happen. feeling the breath in your nose, feeling the breath in your mouth, feeling the breath in your diaphragm, in your chest, in your tummy, putting your hand, like your palm, on your tummy and feeling the breath go up and down. I think breath awareness is so important because it clears out your thoughts, it clears out your head. Have you noticed, have you ever been to the mountains and you feel like you think better, your mind is clearer, your moods are so much better? That's why you need to be breathing better, because the breath awareness is the most important and my favorite mindfulness technique.
So you don't need to practice some pranayama techniques. You don't need to do it complicated. You just need to focus in your breath.
Yeah, I mean, you can. Pranayama is amazing. I do it. Like, it's the alternate breathing. It's really fun and it's so good for you. I'm a big fan of yoga myself, but you don't need to, because again, you're so busy. A lot of people don't want to be showing that they're stressed and they're doing these things. A lot of people like it to be discreet. And you just take care of your breathing. And like, I often forget to take one whole breath. I take really quick breaths because I'm so busy all the time or I'm stressed all the time. I think just checking in with yourself and being like, okay, can you take a deep breath for me? And that's it.
With Over the Moon project, what's your ambition for the future of mindfulness and emotional wellness? And this Over the Moon project is just for women, or is for men too? Or what's your vision?
Okay, yeah. So Over the Moon Project is for everybody. It's for kids, it's for men, it's for women, it's for non-binary people, even if you're on the spectrum or if you're LGBTQ, it's for everybody. It's basically making mindfulness your lifestyle. My vision or my mission is basically making mindfulness so accessible and so irreplaceable in your life. And with it becoming a to go thing, I want to bust the myth that mindfulness needs to be slow, relaxing, calm, and can only be done when you're completely free and relaxed. I want it to be an irreplaceable thing for even the most busiest people in life. They can just take and to go.
I have a friend that she have ADD plus autistic spectrum. So she have a hard time focusing and, like, for example, sitting down, talking and relaxing and everything. Do you think that your project is a fit for her too?
Yes, 100%. Because, like I say, it's not a one size fit all thing. I never ever had that approach because everyone is so different. I change in days. Like, what I was last month is not the person I am today. So, why do I expect to use the same techniques for everybody? Um, with a lack of focus, I obviously wouldn't suggest sitting down and hyper focusing if they can't, because that's only going to make them restless. Using the techniques that is given to them by their therapist, I think would be very important because the therapist knows them and they understand their where they stand on the spectrum. But what I would suggest to them, and again, it's case by case, but this stands true for everyone, is choosing the mindfulness technique that fits well with you and not just doing it because some influencer did it online or someone you love did it. You don't have to follow anyone. You need to just do what feels right to you.
So, Kulsum, where can people connect with you? And if some people wants to work with you, I want to work with you already. But for the people that is listening us, where they can find you, where they can connect with you and learn more about you and about your offerings.
They can follow me on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok, everywhere. I'm just at Over the Moon Project. They can email me overthemoonproject@outlook.com. They can send me a DM and we can get talking. The first session is always free. They don't have to stick with me. If I'm a good fit, they can continue. I'm quite flexible like that. So, yeah, they should come and have a chat with me and see how they feel. My first session with them would be 45 minutes just to get to know them a bit better. But if they can't offer those 45 minutes because life gets busy, we can do at least 15 minutes. What we usually do is that, one, I get to know them a bit better so I understand what they're feeling, teach them an honest check-in method that they can take with them and do that all throughout their lives. So in your first session with me, you'll be able to check in with yourself at least. And on our second session, we'll build a mind map together. It's pretty much a screenshot of your favorite mindfulness things and your mindfulness match, and a little map to your relaxation that you can use and tweak for the rest of your lives.
So it's personalized.
Yes. I do couples as well. So if you're a couple who wants to learn to manage conflicts mindfully and to learn mindfulness together, I do that as well. And then form a personalized map to their relaxation.
It's awesome. You are awesome. Your project, it's really good.
Thank you.
So if we could summarize all the things that we talk about, what will be the result?
Right. Yeah, so to summarize everything we've spoken so far, number one, mindfulness is being aware of your present non-judgmentally. So even if thoughts come while doing mindfulness, not getting upset and hung on to them, saying thank you, no thank you, and moving back to the present. So that's number one. Number two would be using observation and description skills to practice mindfulness anytime, anywhere, any place. Number three would be to find your mindfulness match. So not follow anybody blindly unless it is a good fit for yourself. And number four would be to look at mindfulness from a beginner's and a curious mind, like it's a gym for the brain. So it's not going to work day one. It may not even work day 10, but it will work eventually. So keep trying till it works for you and not give up.
Thank you so much, Kulsum, for sharing your wisdom and be so warm and having this deep presence with us today. You have given us so many tools and reminders to just slow down and go back into yourself and feel and honor our emotions. We would love to have you again and continue this warm talk and for you to share more of your knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Audrey. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for giving me a platform, and kudos to what you do. I follow your page, and I'm such a huge fan of the passion you bring. So thank you for doing what you're doing. And I really hope we get to work together in the future as well.
Thank you very much. So for everyone listening, she is Kulsum, the founder and owner of Over the Moon Project, and you can find her in social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. If today's episode resonated with you, take a moment after this to breathe deeply and ask yourself how I'm feeling right now. Thank you very much. See you in the next episode.